Thank you for being here, Mr. Saunders, and I follow what you do carefully. And, you know, we are neighbors as well with your law office in Blaine. So what you say is very different from what our parliamentary secretary says. And in your presentation, you spoke a little bit about this. And the challenge many times people have is about being honest, right? You want to be honest to authorities. So your position on whether you should disclose cannabis usage differs significantly from our parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. Unlike the parliamentary secretary, you believe that disclosing past marijuana usage at the port of entry is dangerous and it could have been barred for life, as you said in your presentation. And you gave examples. Of course, if you've just smoked, that's different. But if you've done as recreation, if I understood you correctly, recreation some time ago, you don't have to speak about it. And you've said that Canadians are not obligated to answer if a U.S. official asks them about their past marijuana use. Would a Canadian suffer consequences for withdrawing their application for entry at the port of entry if they refuse to answer?
The worst thing that can happen if you don't answer the question is you can be denied entry. And I tell clients, you could try back the next day, a week later, a month later. And chances are you'll probably get a different officer who won't ask the same question. What most people have to understand is not every officer asks this question. It's discretionary. But if you're asked this question, I've always told clients you're under no obligation to say yes. It's not a question that is required to be answered at a port of entry. You're not lying if you say nothing. If you've been charged or convicted of an offense, yes. If you're found in possession of marijuana, yes. But if it's just a random question, I tell clients the worst thing, that can happen if you say nothing is just a simple denied entry.
They come to me and say that if they say, okay, we want to withdraw, they leave and come back, say, the next day at another border. As you know, there are a number of borders that you can go to Washington State from my province of BC. Sometimes it's marked on the computer and they can't go.
When you get denied entry, usually what happens is there's a lookout put on you. So CBP will put a lookout on your profile. So chances are, whether you go to the same port of entry or a different one, you will be sent inside. But most officers don't ask this question, and most officers aren't going to follow through on a second entry. Some do.
I have so many questions of you. I'll go into second round, but I'll just ask you one more now, and that is on pre-clearance. You discussed about coming to the border, but what about if you're asked these questions at pre-clearance?
So, pre-clearance, the new law allowing Americans more, more powers at pre-clearance actually concerns me. And the reason why it concerns me, it's a slippery slope, allowing the Americans more and more rights in Canada. It allows them to interrogate individuals indefinitely. It allows the Americans to carry weapons at airports. It allows the Americans to give expedited removals, 5-year bars, which they can't do now. I've turned the table and I've said, would Canadian officers be allowed to do that in the United States? I don't think ever. Right now, what I tell clients is if they are at pre-flight clearance and they run into any problems, there's an RCMP officer sitting there right beside secondary. At any point, you can withdraw your application and say, I want to speak to that RCMP officer, and you can leave. If this happens at the border, you cannot leave. They'll tell you that you can withdraw your application for entry. That's not correct. They will hold you, not indefinitely, but until they get you to admit to what they want. Right now at pre-flight clearance, there's less powers.
When the pre-clearance bill was being discussed here, I was very much against it. Unfortunately, I couldn't see it through, but I was against it because in that bill it says that the RCMP officer may not be sitting in that corner.
And I agree with you.
And that's like, and you also, if the RCMP officer is not available, then the American authorities can still continue with the questioning.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is very comforting, but
it's too late. It's too late. And Because my office is so close to Vancouver, I don't fly out of Seattle. I fly out of Vancouver. My office is 20 minutes away from Vancouver Airport, even though it's in the U.S. Every time I go through pre-flight clearance, I take comfort knowing that there's a RCMP officer sitting there for my clients in the future. I like that.